We're joined by Joe Giannetti, pro fighter. He is the current welterweight champion of Cage Titans. He is the former lightweight champion of Cage Titans. He is a UFC veteran, and his next fight is January 27th at Cage Titans 63. How you doing, Joe?
I'm doing good. Just getting ready to eat some lunch and go train, but doing good.
That's awesome, man. How you feeling 2 weeks out?
I feel good. It's always nice not having to cut a bunch of weight, like I do when I fight at lightweight. And this camp has really just been focused on becoming a true welterweight again. Lifting super heavy, lifting often, and then training with a lot of bigger guys and keeping my calories up. So I feel like I'm finally coming into that spot where not only am I just heavy and bigger at welterweight, but I'm stronger and I'm getting used to, going with bigger guys and I have the cardio to keep up with carrying this muscle around.
And who's getting you ready for this fight?
Everybody at BTT Taunton, we have plenty of guys that are bigger. We have guys that are smaller that feel like they're 200 pounds. But just some of the best grapplers on the East Coast. And I feel really good working with them.
That's awesome, man. And after that win in November, which was my first Cage Titans event, by the way, so that was awesome.
Hell yeah.
Did you want such a quick turnaround?
Yeah, after I had lost in September, I told Case Titans I wanted to fight in January, and I wasn't gonna let, a short notice win kind of let me be lazy and derail that plan. So I told them I want to fight 5 times this year, get 5 Ws, and so that's what we're aiming to do.
That's awesome, man. And what are your thoughts on Sean Lowry?
Um, I think he's super athletic. I think he's super explosive. He hits like a truck. But I do just feel like I have been so much more disciplined to this sport in the last few years as opposed to him. I feel like his strength has always been his power on the feet. And granted, he's probably gained a few new tricks and techniques on the feet, but I just don't think that he's going to make, the strides in the sport that he needs to really keep up with me. Like, this isn't boxing, this isn't kickboxing, this is MMA. Even the striking alone isn't the same as kickboxing once you throw in faking a takedown, even just making somebody think about certain things. So I just feel like my experience in the gym carries over. Even in the cage, I have more experience than him in the cage against higher level guys. I just feel like he won't be able to keep up.
So how do you feel like your style compares to his?
I feel like we're almost polar opposites, like I'm comfortable on the ground, top or bottom, and I feel like my striking on the feet is much more diverse and it's a lot more methodical. I feel like everything that he does on the feet, it's to set up a power shot. You know what I mean? Even when he's putting out a combo, the combo is to set up the final touch. It's that last overhand right or that last lead hook. Um, and I feel like I'm a guy that I could finish somebody anywhere. It really doesn't matter what technique on the ground, on the feet. I just feel way more diverse.
And going back to your last fight, dude, that friggin' that jumping kick. Have you ever thrown that before?
I've been throwing it in the gym for years. I've been practicing it on the bag for years. I said to somebody else recently, I've had teammates for ages, not just this kick, but plenty of other things like yelling at me, like, dude, throw this in a fight, do this in a fight, like it's gonna work. And I just keep honing it and honing it. And then I said, screw it. And I put the setup out there for a little bit. And I was like, all right, I think this might work. Let me try it. And it worked.
Bro, it happened so quick I missed the recording. What's your game plan going into this one?
Just be a bull and a matador, pick them apart, use my footwork. Very similar to my last fight with Pat Casey. I feel like I'm just fighting a bigger version of him. But Lally's a little bit more dedicated to the feet as opposed to Pat Casey's okay wrestling and being on the ground, even though he has plenty of striking experience as well. So I'm just gonna kind of do the same thing I did to Pat Casey, use my range, use my footwork, pick them apart, and just lead the dance.
And after you get, assuming you get this done, I'm sure you will, but um, what's next for you after this? Do you think you're gonna stay at welterweight, maybe go back to lightweight?
No, I think this will be my last one at welterweight. For now, anyways. I think my biggest problem with, you know, even my good performances that people see, if you're in my camp and on my team, like you see some of these tough weight cuts and even if I look good in the cage, like I could have looked better because I'm having hard weight cuts at lightweight. I feel like these weight cuts have been so hard because, a lot of people don't see behind the scenes where, especially 2023, I was planning on fighting like 4 or 5 times. Obviously, I got sick in the March fight and didn't make it. but then I was supposed to fight twice over the summer. Those fights fell through, but I get offered fights at 170 all the time. And so when nobody at 155 will fight me, I'm like, sure, I'll do 170. I start bulking up, and then that fight falls through before it's even announced. And then it's like, okay, now I'm at this point where I'm heavy, but am I fighting at welterweight? Am I fighting at lightweight? And then all of a sudden it's like, all right, you've got 6 weeks to make 155 when I didn't even know what weight class I'd be at. So then my fight camps are a little bit more directed towards just making the weight, as opposed to, honing my skills and improving. We do the best we can to improve every single day, but some days you just got to get in there and burn calories and sweat and just get the weight down. And that's cool for like wrestling, college, high school, whatever, but that's just not what you can't do that in MMA. You got to focus on your opponent. You got to keep improving. And being in this little in between of like, what weight am I fighting at? I just don't think it's good for me in the long run. I think eventually I'll end up at welterweight for the remainder of my career, but I've got a few more years at lightweight and I need to just, hunker down and focus on that.
Well, sir, and assuming you get 5 fights, you go 5-0. Are you waiting for that call back for the UFC?
Yeah, 100%. I got Cage Titan schedule already written down. I've already worked it around my job. I've already worked it around my fiance. We're getting married in November, so I've got my 5 fights.
Congratulations.
I got my 5 fights, and then the rest of the year off. No more black eyes. So the only way I can fight again after my fifth fight this year is if the UFC calls, and it's after November 1st.
Yes, sir. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you, thank you.
And I wanted to touch up a little bit on the UFC, actually, if you don't mind.
For sure.
What was it like being on the Ultimate Fighter 27, having DC as your coach?
It was cool, man. I think the coolest thing about it was it kind of took me back to high school wrestling. Like DC kind of just ran that like a wrestling practice, like he worked us to the bone. We knew that we were outworking the other team, like all of us, whether we won or we lost. Prior to our fights, we all knew we were outworking the other team, and we were. There were certain nights where like Team Stipe would go out for like a steakhouse dinner, and we would turn around like, "Yo, D, when are we going out?" And he told us, he was like, "You want to go out for dinner? Or you want to win the Ultimate Fighter?" And we were like, "All right, fair enough. I'll see you at practice." So it was super, super hard. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life, but I knew every step of the way that it was so worth it.
And coming off that split decision in the finals, like what happened afterwards? Were they just not going to give you another chance, or how did that
Uh,
pan out?
there wasn't a ton of communication afterwards, but like I knew what was going to happen. I told everybody in my corner and in the back room, and people that weren't even on my team that were trying to say good job. But it was a bad performance. It was just plain and simple. A lot of people say like it could have went either way, and it could have, but that was the worst version of me against, I'm assuming, the best version at the time of Mike Trizano. And I think that was the most infuriating part. But, I walked in the back room and I just threw a jacket over my head and cried in the corner. And everybody was like, dude, you just fought on the Ultimate Fighter. I co-main evented for Israel Adesanya on International Fight Week. Like, why are you so upset? And I'm just, I'm a realist, man. I'm very hard on myself. I'm always chasing perfection. I knew that I could have done better. And I also knew that I was getting cut. I told everybody I'm going to get cut after this fight. And now all those years of sacrifice, all those years of hard work, I have to start from square one to prove that I belong here. And everybody said I was crazy. Other teams, other fighters, my team, my girlfriend, everybody was like, "You're crazy, you're crazy. Like you have the fastest submission and tough. Like you'll be back." Da 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 da. I knew the stakes. I knew how big the spotlight was, and I knew that I dropped the ball. So it wasn't so much a surprise when they did let me go, but it was just like that frustration of like that one night was my shot, and it didn't show all the years of hard work and sacrifice that I've made prior to that. So they let me go. I took a week, I kind of just felt sorry for myself. I hid away in my apartment, and then I was just like, all right, let's get back to it because this is the only way we're going to get back.
Yes, sir. And what did you take away from that experience of being on the show?
I just kind of took back like, DC's work ethic. I always thought that I was like a super hard worker. I always prided myself in that. I might not be the quickest learner, I might not be the best, but I work as hard as possible. And after DC pushed us so hard, it kind of showed me like I can go even further. I can push even harder. And I set that high bar for myself every training session ever since. And also outside of training and fighting, it showed me what kind of lifestyle that I need to lead to have my best performances. Um, at that time, those two fights in the Ultimate Fighter were two of my best fights ever in my professional or amateur career. And so I had to sit down and I literally wrote down in a notebook what my lifestyle was like. And ever since I came home from that, that's everything I've done is to aim towards that lifestyle. Obviously, being at home, you got to work, you got to clean your house, do laundry, dishes, stuff like that. But I try to do stuff so efficiently and so fast and make money and save money so that I can train as much as possible and then just focus on training and recovering and doing it all over again to make sure my next fight is my best fight.
And have you been out to AKA recently for training?
My last time out to AKA was for the Michael Dufort fight in September. I did lose that one. But after this one, I'm going to be heading out to AKA. It's just so hard, money wise, being cross country. And I think the thing that a lot of people don't realize is California is the most expensive state. Massachusetts is the second most expensive state. I live in one and I train in the other. But when I'm in California and I'm gone, I'm leading two different lives. Like I have to pay for my food and gas and everything while I'm in California, but I have rent and bills to pay here at home too. So, people are like, how much do you really need to go to California? I'm like, I don't need that much to go, but I need a lot to make sure I have a home to come to when I'm back.
Right, exactly. Are you looking to get that match against Michael again?
Yeah, for sure. It's one of those things where I wanted it as soon as I walked out of the cage. That was another one of those nights where, wasn't locked in. He fought his fight, and I knew if I let him, that's what would happen, and that's what happened. But I wasn't gonna sit there and be like, I deserve, I want, because there'd be no point. He beat me so fast and so decisively that if we had rematch, say on the November card, it's like, what's changed from September to November? Minus maybe I'm a little bit more locked in tonight and in the zone, which could make all the difference. But, as a promoter, as a real fighter that can, sit down and look at myself and as a fan, it doesn't make sense that short notice or that quick of a turnaround. So I told Cage Titans, I'm going to want that one back, but I'm cool with fighting to get it back. And, I took the Pat Casey fight on short notice. And personally, I feel like that was enough to get my rematch with Dufort after that. Being that I put myself at all these disadvantages on short notice, I was like, yeah, give me due for it next. But at the same time, I also know the UFC is going to Canada January 20th, right in his backyard. So I told Cage Titans, like, obviously he's going to sit and wait for that. He's on a 4 or 5 fight win streak, finishing two UFC vets. So I know that he's going to make his case and wait for his spot. And I'm cool with that. He deserves it. Me personally, I was driving to California while UFC Boston was happening to prepare for Dufort. So like I'm not much of a like sit around and wait for my shot type of guy, but I don't knock him for being that way. Everybody's different. But I will say that after, this UFC Canada card, if he's not signed and he's not in talks with PFL or any big organization, it's kind of a defender vacate thing. Nobody would fight me at 155, which is why I fought Dufort. He smoked me. So if nobody's going to fight me and you beat me, I know nobody wants to fight you. I've already talked to a few lightweights that they don't even mention his name. They say, you'll get that one back. And I'm like, what about you? Not like I want anybody to fight ahead of me for my belt, but, guys are local 55ers are cheering for me and I appreciate it. And, maybe I'm just not, maybe I'm a bit more selfish, but like I wouldn't root for someone like I hope he gets a title shot before me. Like I would be like, now it's my turn. So it just kind of shows nobody's willing to fight me at 55. Nobody's willing to fight him at 55. And after this fight in January, it'll be 3 months, 4 months since we fought, and I'll have two fights under my belt. So it'll be one of those things where it's like it's defend or vacate, stay active. When I was champ in two weight classes, everybody was on me to defend or vacate and fight, and I fought as much as possible when opponents were available. So defend or vacate after this one, really.
Right. So you're trying to maybe shoot for the March card for that one?
Yeah, for sure. As soon as possible. I told Cage Titans when I took this fight, I want to do for it in March. At the latest, if for whatever reason he can't do March, I'll even wait till May. That would be a pain to, I'd probably skip the March card and fight him in May. It'd be a pain, but it would also give me time to make sure that I get my full 8 weeks and prepare for him because he's my biggest challenge.
Fair enough. Your prediction for your fight against Sean, how do you think you got it done?
Honestly, I see a TKO or a submission. I think it all comes from the feet though. I think that I just overwhelm him on the feet, and if he goes down, he goes down, and if he takes a lazy shot and I take his neck, cool. But I really just think it's going to be a bull and a matador show.
Do you think it's going to be a quick first round, or that would probably be a feeling out process?
Um, it could be the first round. Sean's a gamer. He's very aggressive. He comes out hard, and that doesn't really intimidate me. But I would probably say late first, early second.
Yes, sir. I'm looking forward to that. I'm going to be there that night.
Hell yeah.
got me a better seat this time. Um, Honestly, I think that's all I had for you today, man. Is there anything else you want to say before we sign off?
Just the same as I say every interview I do, guys, if you're watching this, buy your tickets from your favorite fighters, whether it's me or somebody else on Cage Titan 63, or if you're watching this from across the globe, whatever local promotion that you're attending, buy it from the fighters. If they're getting commission, it helps out a ton. Buy their t-shirts. If you got a business, sponsor them if you can. It just helps out so much. And just thank you to all my sponsors, Caged In Podcast, Two Fight Bros, Verita Builders, Pear Tree Property Services. It just means the world that I can go train with the best guys in the world because of sponsors like that.
Are your fight shirts out yet?
They're not out yet. They'll be out at the end of this week.
All right, cool. Let me know because I'm definitely looking to get one.
Hell yeah, we'll do.
And also, I've been talking to the over the Octagon guys, and I'm interested in one of those cards. I'm not gonna lie. They showed me
Yeah,
that the other day,
yeah,
and I was like, "You got a JoJo card? Get the hell
yeah.
out of here!"
I know, I know. After I win my belt back, I might re-release those champ cards.
All right, let me know. I'm definitely
Will
gonna
do.
want to get one.
Oh yeah.
All right, JoJo, thank you for your time today, man. I appreciate you. Good luck in 2 weeks. I can't wait to see you get it done.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.
You as well.